My friends, I'm impressed. I'm impressed looking into this room. I have the feeling that there is a strong, motivated, progressive, democratic, social democratic force in Hungary, pro-European, pro-democracy. Dear Ferenc, dear Agnes, dear Gege, dear Clara, dear Kata, dear candidates, and dear friends, thank you very much for inviting me. It's for me a pleasure, but it's also a great honor to be in your beautiful city of Budapest, to launch the DK Hungary's European campaign, and to support the coalition list for the European elections with very strong candidates led by Clara. Thank you. Yes, unity is the key. By joining forces, your progressive coalition will bring the change that Hungary and Europe needs. Friends, I would like to begin my intervention by reflecting on the words of Olof Palme, who was one of the persons who finally brought me to social democracy. And he said that democracy is a question of human dignity. And he rightly pointed out that democracy is about political freedoms, about the right to express your views freely, without fear, and the right to criticize and influence opinion. But democracy is also about media pluralism, about civil rights, about social rights, rights of association, and especially the rights of trade unions, the rights of those who defend the workers. And since the birth of our movement, of our social democratic movement, this is what has motivated the work of socialists and social democrats. It is also the central founding value of the union to which we belong, about a union of democracies and not of illiberal systems. A union that enshrines solidarity, solidarity between member states, solidarity in member states, solidarity between territories, unity, progress, and social justice for the whole continent. And I would add peace for the whole continent, and also solidarity with countries who are brutally aggressed, Ukraine. These values are now under threat. The rise of the far right undermines everything the EU is built on. And it is doing so as we speak, not just here. We see in Finland the true Finns allied to the conservatives attack the right to strike and weaken social protection. In Poland, the PiS has attacked. Fortunately, Poland shows that change is possible. Yes, the PiS had attacked women's rights as well as the independence of the judiciary. Stories you know best. In Italy, yes, in Italy, where there is also a coalition between extreme right and the conservatives. They oppose the minimum wage. They control the media and deny children's rights. Everywhere in Europe, the far right spreads fear and division. This is how the far right is damaging the European project. We spread hope, and we spread solutions to put hope into action. And this is what we must most fight now, the extreme right, because the far right is a poison for democracy and for our European project. And again, you know it at first hand. Here in Hungary, Viktor Orban's government has been attacking press freedom, human rights, democratic institutions, trade union rights for more than a decade. Since his party came to power, rule of law has eroded. He has transformed this country step by step into a system that grants himself full power and his friends access to all kinds of resources and money. This is the reason why the European Parliament has triggered Article 7 procedure to deprive the Orban government of its voting rights. Not to deprive the Hungarian people, but to make this evolution towards an authoritarian system impossible. That's what happened, not against the Hungarian people. Orban's policies are isolating Hungary in Europe. Erosion of the rule of law by Orban's reckless, irresponsible, and undemocratic policies have deprived Hungarians of much-needed European funding. And not the opposition, please. It's his policies who are the cause of that. Funds that are vital for the well-being and livelihoods of citizens, as well as the welfare state. On media freedom, Orban's interference obstructs journalists from holding the authorities to account. By continuing attacking media pluralism and independence, Orban is denying citizens their right to quality information. And the recent sovereignty law shows, confirms, that Orban is continuing to consolidate his power grab by creating an atmosphere of continuous suspicion. And that's the foundation of authoritarian systems. Permanent suspicion and permanent fear. For years, Fidesz and Orban have been attacking women's rights. His government has tightened abortion access and is now forcing women seeking an abortion to, quote, listen to the fertile heartbeat before they can access the procedure. And we all know to what this will lead. Orban has also drafted discriminatory laws against LGBTI people. In 2021, his government passed a law that stigmatizes LGBTI by banning references to the community in school materials and TV programs. In an EU of human and fundamental rights, in an EU of non-discrimination, a union that bans precisely discriminatory policies, this is absolutely unacceptable and cannot be tolerated. Dear friends, yesterday I had a very interesting and very strong meeting with the representatives of trade unions. And they described what's going on. What's going on in this world, of economic world, but also what's going on with the rights of trade unions. And it was, I tell you, it was for me very difficult to believe that they were describing a situation of a European country, of a member of the European Union. And this cannot be accepted. And despite positioning sometimes himself as the defender of rights or social rights, well, this government does nothing but the complete opposite. As in Finland and other countries where the far right is influential, Orban has been quick to attack the rights of workers and trade unions. Case in point, once Fidesz came into power, they started gradually restricting the right to strike, sector by sector. At the same time, the government has started curtailing workers' rights, reducing inspections aimed at ensuring health and safety at the workplace. A recent legislative proposal would even remove the obligation to carry out occupation health checks on workers entirely, leaving workers vulnerable and without recourse if they are exposed to health hazards by their employers. This is, from a European point, absolutely unacceptable because it goes directly against a set of European directives. And we have to make sure that these European directives protecting workers, especially their life, their health, their safety, their security, should be implemented everywhere in the European Union, including in Hungary. This Commission has invested a lot in social dialogue, and they told me, well, social dialogue is hollowed out here. Finally, friends, healthcare and education are also victims of the far-right's policies. Here in Hungary, conservative reforms to the education system are now limiting critical thinking. The independence of universities is seriously restricted, which is another problem for the EU. And moves towards privatization in the health sector continue to raise concerns about accessibility and affordability, especially for marginalized and low-income communities. On education, as I also met the education trade unions, I just want to repeat them. I'm with the teachers in this country. I'm supporting the courage of the teachers in this country. I support the work of teachers in this country. But the tide is turning. Citizens have enough of the autocratic regime, and we Social Democrats will return Hungary to democracy. We never made any compromise with Orban, and we never will. Hungarians know that, and they know that they can trust us. And I say again very clearly, addressing myself to the Hungarian people, Europe is with the Hungarian people. Europe is with you. We defend your rights, your political rights, your social rights. We defend the rule of law for all Hungarians. And we know everybody, every citizen can be a victim of the arbitrarian. And we have seen now with our friend Zita how soon and how irresponsible the system can be against a member of your parliament, inventing courses which never have existed. This is the way how arbitrarian systems work. The stakes now have never been higher. Ahead of the next European election, it is either a right-wing Europe, a conservative Europe, a Europe going back to austerity. This is a Europe of the far right in alliance with the right, or a progressive Europe led by us, the Social Democrats, with your support. That's what's really important in these European elections. European values will be put to the vote on the 9th of June this year, in a few weeks. It is the idea of Europe as a fair and inclusive continent that is being put to the vote. I'm sure that with you, Clara, as a leader, and every Social Democrat and Green candidate on your joint list, this is possible to get our message across, to ensure that citizens understand our vision of hope for Europe, hope for a society that is social, democratic, and sustainable, and a clear opposition to the fear-mongering of Orban and his friends and allies. The EU is strong. The EU is strong when it is united, as the left, the progressives, are strong when they are united. But Orban is undermining this unity, this European unity, by blackmailing, blocking proposals. He is weakening the EU and its international role at a crucial moment. We need full solidarity with Ukraine, attacked and destroyed by the Russian dictator and friend Putin. And this is an absolute necessity for our future, for our security, and for the defense of our values. Our message to undemocratic political actors and movements is clear. No cooperation, no coalition with Orban and the far right. This is our red line. This is quite simple. This is clarity. But fighting for democracy requires more than just stopping working with the far right. It implies a project of hope with concrete solutions. We have to address citizens' concerns. We have to build on popular discontent and distrust, and we have to propose clear political solutions against poverty and social exclusion, against an accumulation of wealth in the hands of a few, against the deterioration of public services, against soaring housing prices where young people cannot afford anymore to go and create a family, against energy poverty, against global warming hitting, above all, the most vulnerable. Yes, friends, millions of people feel left behind. And that's why in Rome I said that Europe must change course, not become a divided continent, not become a continent based on fear, but a continent which unites and which builds a very social and democratic project. All these very concrete problems we are facing are the result of political choices, the distribution of the wealth we create together, the opportunities our society offers, the solidarity we can show as a society. And as progressives, our political choice is to have, yes, a Green Deal, a social Green Deal that leaves no one behind. The green transition is expected to create at least 1 million additional jobs in the EU by 2030. We want to support workers and the right to training also during paid working hours. We want to support workers during the transition, and this is vital for all of us. Our choice is to have a Made in Europe strategy, have new common investments, create good quality jobs in Europe's regions, develop strategic sectors in every region of Europe, ensure strict social conditions on businesses for quality jobs, better wages, and training opportunities. Tax windfall profits in the energy sectors have to be generalized. And yes, as progressives, our choice is for a social Europe with fair distribution of wealth and quality public services. Because defending democracy also means tackling the causes of inequality in society. Because only fair societies become and are and remain strong democracies. Because everyone deserves support and good opportunities for their personal and professional development. Because the benefits of the green and digital transitions have to be fairly distributed. And that's why we empower democracy by empowering citizens, by empowering workers through better quality jobs, decent wages, this is a big issue here, and rights for platform workers. By empowering women, tackling the gender pay gap, and strengthening women's rights, especially the right to access abortion. And that is why I endorse the EU Charter of Women's Rights put forward by PES Women under the leadership of my dear friend Zita Gourmay. Yes, this is the Charter. And by empowering young people, and we have to talk to young people, we have to show them that their prospect, a better future, a better social situation for them, better housing. It's with us. It's not with demagogy from the right and the extreme right. We have to empower civil society, journalists, whistleblowers, and human rights defenders. Yes, it's about human dignity, as I said, and that is why I started my intervention underlying Palmer's statement that democracy is a question of human dignity. Because when Orban and Fidesz and some others around Europe undermine democracy and the rule of law, they deny citizens the right to live in dignity. They deny citizens the right to free expression, criticism, critical thinking for the teachers and education, and influence. But more than that, by undermining the rule of law and putting European funds at risk, Orban is denying citizens the right to accessible and affordable health and education, the right to quality jobs, the right to quality social security, and the right to a more sustainable future. Friends, I see your joint list as a beacon of hope. For progressives, a society of well-being has always been a priority. In particular, I have had the pleasure of working with Clara and Kata at European level, with Clara in the European Parliament, with Kata in the Committee of Regions for several years, in the European Parliament and the European Committee of the Regions, respectively. I remember I met the mayor of Budapest even before I became a commissioner. And what he told me at that time motivated me very much also to fight for the rights of the Hungarian people. Both have worked, plus the mayor, plus all of you, tirelessly for a better life for citizens and workers. With you, as with all the candidates, you are in very good hands. We are the only strong and meaningful alternative to the authoritarian regime here in place. Dear friends, we progressives have a plan. Together we have an ambitious manifesto. With you, we have an incredible lineup of candidates. And with me, you have a lead candidate for Commission President who will do everything to ensure a more social, democratic, sustainable, and secure Europe. I am sure that together we can run a very successful campaign, and this shows that in Hungary it is the case, and win these elections. For a united Europe, for a united left, for a progressive Europe, for our Europe. Thank you very much.